Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. Bob Pompeani with you at 412-575-2600. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. And up at 93.7 The Fan, we find Jason Mackey, outstanding columnist with the Post-Gazette, who joins me tonight. Andrew Filipponi, by the way, Jason, told me last night that his daughter was sick and he stayed at home like a good dad, but she threw up on him. So perhaps he got that sickness 24 hours later. So thank you for being available tonight.
Of course.
Well, the big news here tonight, of course, is it really affects the Steelers, probably not as much as people think. But Russell Wilson, who was not destined to come back here, didn't come back here. He signs instead a one-year deal with the New York Giants. So we have our tweet of the night brought to you by Xfinity Mobile. We're going to present that to you early from Adam Schefter. Russell Wilson and the Giants agreement now eliminates New York as a potential option this season for Rodgers. It also now leaves Rodgers and the Steelers in a position to work out their own agreement if the quarterback decides he wants to play this season. That's an if. But both former Steeler quarterbacks have landed now in New York. Wilson with the Giants, Justin Fields with the Jets, and New York's former quarterback now has an option to land in Pittsburgh or not. I mean, he could choose retirement. He could choose to wait. Jason, how do you think this ends, and what time frame do you have this on? Because it would seem now that Wilson's signed that there's really no need to delay anything if he wants to play, right?
Yeah, Bob, I don't know if the Russell Wilson thing has anything to do with Aaron Rodgers. I'll be perfectly honest. I mean, the Steelers had an opportunity to sign Russell Wilson if that's who they so chose. They do not. Same thing with Justin Fields, at least at that price tag. I still think it ends with Aaron Rodgers coming to Pittsburgh. I do. I don't know whether it ends with Pat McAfee's big night out on the town or whatever on April 9th. Maybe that happens. I hope it doesn't. I just think Aaron Rodgers is taking his sweet time. It's the same thing we've seen this entire process. And whenever he feels called or led or whatever to make a decision, I think we're going to find out what that is. After he comes and visits the Steelers on Friday, talking to Mike Tomlin, hearing about the plan, understanding the culture, whatever you want to say about the state of the organization, I'm sorry, I don't see how it doesn't end with the deal with him coming here, knowing the respect that he has for Tomlin and the Steelers.
Yeah, I think that's a fait accompli. At least at this point it looks that way. The question is when, and if he's waiting April 9th, come on. They don't need to go that far into this anyway.
We've waited this far?
Yeah, I know, but it's one thing is certain, has to be before the draft, because the Steelers now for the second year in a row have completely cleaned house in quarterback. That's rare for any team, but especially the Steelers, who still need to figure out what they do with their future quarterback. It's got to come by way of draft, either this, most likely next season. They'll have some picks to use as collateral, but man, Jason, they got to figure it out. This is like 5 straight years, I think, where they've had a different starting quarterback to start the year.
Yeah, but you know what, Bob? I don't feel the urgency to get a quarterback right now. I mean, yes, long term, they need to figure out the quarterback position. To me, 2026 is a better opportunity to do that. If you sign Aaron Rodgers, you're not thinking about the future, right? You're thinking about this season. You think that he and Mike Tomlin together have an opportunity to sort of slay those playoff demons, whatever storyline you want to drum up. I mean, they're going all in for 2025 if they bring Aaron Rodgers here. I understand the quarterback question, but anybody they draft, I think, is going to be secondary to needs for this year's team. And so in the draft, yeah, they have to address defensive line. They have to address wide receiver, I think, in some other way besides DK Metcalf. They might have to get some cornerback depth, probably another running back option. There's a lot of boxes they need to check, but I'm not sitting here looking at them taking their future quarterback this year in round 5.
Oh, no, I wouldn't either. But I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if they take one in the mid-rounds, try to work with him if they like that guy, and then draft it again next year. It's the most important position, and if you're in position to do it next year, do it again. So they got to get it straightened out. The other big news of the day came tonight. Your partner over there at the Post-Gazette, Noah Hiles, came up with a story about Jared Jones. Everyone has been waiting to hear, and he reports no torn ligaments, won't need surgery, which I think was everyone's fear, Jason, and so now he'll need rest, but then a rehab. We may not see him until early June based on this, or who knows how long it'll take, but at least it's not surgery, at least for now.
My understanding from my time being on a baseball beat, Bob, every week that you're down, no throw status, that's a week to build back up. So if he's not throwing for 6 weeks, you can double that. and look at 12 weeks before he's going to get built back up to be back in a game. I mean, he's going to be going, 6 weeks from now, basically early spring training form. So it's going to take a while for him to contribute. I understand no Tommy John, no need for surgery, all that stuff. And I'm not trying to be a downer about this by any stretch. I want Jared to be okay. He's a huge part of this team. I just still worry, what's going on in that elbow. I'm not smart enough to decipher. I just know that pitchers' elbows, a lot of times that leads to something bad. I hope he's okay. But, yeah, I'm not counting on Jared Jones for anything for at least the first 2 months, maybe the first 3, and then it's just a constant concern for me until he's feeling 100%.
Totally agree with that. All right, Jason, we're going to open up the phone lines at 412-575-2600. Want to hear from you. That's coming up next as we continue with the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 7 nights a week. KDKA Plus, 93.7 The Fan. Jason and I return right after this. All right, welcome back. We continue live right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani, Jason Mackey with you. I have some tweets. Before we go to the phone line, 2 of these concern the Steelers. Center of Sports on Twitter says, one thing about Rodgers, he wants to be in the news as long as possible. I don't know if it'll be soon. Doesn't want to do minicamp. Doesn't want to do any of that stuff before training camp. I think that is something to discuss, Jason, because he did this in New York, where he ended up in Egypt or someplace while they were supposed to be working on a new team. And here he would come here with a whole new cast of characters, a whole new offense, one that doesn't necessarily jive with him. I think it would be important for him to be here. What do you think he does?
Call me crazy, Bob. I think if Aaron Rodgers signs with the Steelers, he's here for minicamp. And he's completely bought in. I don't think he would do this alongside Mike Tomlin, someone he respects so much, and in an organization that he has so much respect for. I know people are plenty frustrated by the Steelers right now, and I understand that. But if you're Aaron Rodgers looking at this, say, I'm going to take this as my kind of last shot. I'm with an organization that has a standard to uphold. I'm going to do it. And I don't know how you can just waltz in here, at minicamp, not be around for OTAs or something like that. He's got to sort of put his line in the water. Maybe I'll say it that way. The relationship with Arthur Smith, Aaron Rodgers needs to be around, needs to build relationships with people. I expect Mike Tomlin to push for that, and I expect Aaron Rodgers to respect it. So I think he is around.
Yeah, and I would agree. I wouldn't say 100%. He doesn't need to be here every single one of those. But we've seen guys who are veterans, come for a couple of days during the week and then move and come back the next week, whatever it would take. Also, Still Yuns on Twitter says he's not lasting a full season behind that offensive line, and that's going to be a concern because he is a sitting duck back there. Jason, let's get to the phone lines. Will in McKees Rocks is our first caller tonight. Will, how you doing? As our number 1 Cochrane Go One Better caller of the night.
Hey, Pomp, how you doing, my friend?
Good, thanks.
Oh, thanks for taking my call. I wanted to talk about the quarterback situation for the Steelers. It's been a long time, apparently, since the Steelers have been in this type of situation to where it seems like Aaron Rodgers is basically taking them hostage at this point. But my question is, do they have a contingency plan? Are there any other veterans out there if he decides to retire?
Well, Joe Flacco would be the name everybody would point to because he's still looking for a job. And if Mason Rudolph will start, or maybe he would start, if somehow Rodgers, Jason, decides that he's going to retire or wait, he can say, well, you know what, I'm not interested, or whatever the case may be. I'm just going to see what happens. I'm going to keep myself in good shape and wait until an opening happens for a team that may need him. I don't think that's going to happen myself. But let's talk about that. And, what is plan B? It would be Flacco, I would imagine, then draft someone in the mid-rounds, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe Kirk Cousins falls into their lap. Maybe we have to talk about that. Personally, I'm no more interested in Kirk Cousins than I would be Mason Rudolph. At this point, I would just take Mason, and I'd spend the money that they have earmarked on a quarterback. I'd probably spend it on a wide receiver, try to improve that offense. I think if you don't get Aaron Rodgers, and even to a degree if you do, you need to build the rest of the team so that when you do get that quarterback of the future, hopefully in 2026, he's ready to step into a tenable situation.
No, I totally agree. They need a lot of help. And if you heard Mel Blount on the Ben Roethlisberger Football and Podcast, he pretty much said that. They need a lot of help at a lot of positions, but they also do not at this juncture have a second-round pick, and that's a big one they'd like to get back somehow. All right, back to the lines we go, and we have John in Oil City who calls us tonight. Hello, John. How are you?
Hey, Bob. How you doing? Hey, I just have a comment about the Pirate first base situation. What do you think about the Pirates giving Jack Sawinski a shot at first base?
Why not give everyone else? I thought Reynolds might end up there. Now it's going to be Triolo. It could be Adam Frazier. It could be Andy Rodriguez. You talk about the Steelers, Jason, searching for quarterbacks. The Pirates have been searching for a first baseman, it seems, for like a decade, and they come up with new people every year. And now with Spencer Horwitz out, I guess it's a 3-person platoon.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to use Jack there. They had an opportunity to do that in spring training. He played the position in high school. I think they could have tried it. But Andy Rodriguez making the team as a backup catcher and a first baseman, he's going to get at bats there against right-handed pitching. They'll probably use Jared Triolo against lefties, and then Spencer Horwitz is going to be back probably toward the end of April. So it's not a lot of time, and you're going to play Spencer Horwitz more often than not just because you gave up a lot to get him. But I think those at bats right now are going to go to Andy.
All right, one other thing that happened tonight we need to talk about, and I have a tweet on it, and I have to be careful how I say this, Jason. This is from, on Twitter, Puck U. He says, Pens are a bad team, but an effort like this, after Sullivan ripped them earlier in the morning, continues to indicate players have tuned him out. He gave them Monday off to enjoy the sunshine. They respond with a lackluster effort. I could have not have agreed with that more. I think that's spot on. They played terrible hockey tonight. Ryan Graves was fishing on the ice. And Tristan Jarry, it's alarming to see what we saw here tonight. Some of those were very preventable. Just an awful 6-1 loss.
Bob, I'm not excusing it, but I mean, I have a slightly different opinion. They've played pretty good hockey for the past, 7-8 games. Not that that's a huge season-defining stretch, but I mean, they weren't tuning Mike Sullivan out during that. What we're looking at is Ryan Graves isn't a very good player or a very good fit in this system. What we're looking at is Tristan Jarry as a space cadet from time to time who can play 5-6 good games and then just is on Mars for another one. So, yes, it's frustrating, sure. But it's also what we've seen out of this team more often than not. I don't take it as an indication that Sullivan is a bad hockey coach or has lost the team. Also, I'm sorry about the tweeter, and I'm not going to repeat it because I'll probably mess it up. He's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. FSG believes in this guy as the coach. Whether you like it, whether you hate it, doesn't really matter. He's sticking around.
Yeah, but I think he has to be especially upset after the way gave him a day off.
I'm sure he's furious.
Yeah, you can't play like that. And Ryan Graves, I don't know, they're playing him a lot right now. I wouldn't play him at all. He's been benched before. I'd bench him again. I'd send messages, you got to be better. You're not guaranteed spots on this roster. Back to the lines we go, and it's John and Cranberry this time. Hello, John. How are you?
Hey, Bob and Jason. Thanks for taking my call. So I wanted to talk about college basketball. It's Sweet 16 week. A couple things. So St. Francis, it was interesting. St. Francis of Pennsylvania went from Division I to Division III today due to the college landscape, and I think we might see more teams do that. And speaking of the Sweet 16, of the 16 teams, 7 from the SEC, 4 from the Big Ten, 4 from the Big 12, and Duke. There's not one single mid-major. So with the college landscape, with the NIL and the revenue sharing, to you and Jason, do you think eventually there could be like a 2-tournament system with the Power 5 conferences and then the mid-majors? How do you see it changing in the future? Thanks, guys.
Hey, that's a good call, John. Thank you for that. And listen, the way it's changed so radically, I wouldn't be surprised by anything. And you mentioned St. Francis. There are going to be a lot of teams who decide to make a move here, Jason, just because they can't keep up with what the power conferences do. We saw today again, Robert Morris for the second day in a row lost one of their best players. What are they going to do to try to retain these people? You know, and it's difficult to maintain that. So as far as Sweet 16, I like BYU a lot more than most. I'll just throw that in. But go ahead, your take on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see more teams doing what St. Francis did. I completely agree with John. I think it stinks for mid-majors and college sports in general. I wrote this column today in the Post-Gazette. Robert Morris, we saw this coming. I think there's going to be more. There's going to be a mass exodus. I don't blame any of the participants for leaving, but that's the way college sports is right now, and it stinks. And, yeah, I mean, maybe you'll have 2 separate tournaments, one for teams with a whole bunch of NIL money and then another for, programs that are just playing basketball. I don't know what the solution is. Maybe you widen it, but I'm not sure that would fix the Sweet 16 problem. I agree with John that it is a significant problem. I just don't have any great way right now of fixing it.
No, I agree with you, but it is a problem. It will affect more teams as they move forward here. And by the way, for St. Francis, this will take effect after next season, but they're going from Division I to Division III. All right, Kirk and Manor, you're up. Hey, Kirk, how are you?
Hey, how you guys doing? Hey, I just wanted to suggest stick with Mason Rudolph this year. Forget Rogers. Use some of that cap money. Sign players. Sign the best player you can.
Well, a lot of those guys have already moved on. You know, there aren't all that many signings to be had. We saw one today with Stephon Diggs, but I don't know if he's going to be the same player. He's coming off big-time surgery for New England. But, you know, you can make the argument that, you know, at 41, soon to be 42, Rodgers, you know, 25 to 30 million, whatever it may be, is money wasted. Although I will tell you, if he does get protection, I still believe in the pocket. He could dice you up, Jason. I've seen enough to believe that. It's just that he's not the athlete he once was. He can't move. And that offensive line does have questions at the tackle position.
No, completely fair. Completely fair. I worry about that. And it's not that Rodgers takes a ton of sacks. He just throws the ball away. And so you're going to be looking at a lot of 2nd and 10s, a lot of 3rd and 10s. You know what else, though, Bob? I don't think it matters. I mean, the Steelers are in this. They've gone this far. This is Mike Tomlin's baby. He's going to ride this till the end. So I don't think the Steelers at this point are just going to pull out and say, hey, Aaron, thanks, appreciate your time, offers off the table, we're done. The only way this doesn't happen at this point with Russell Wilson signing with the Giants is if Aaron Rodgers says, nah, I don't want to play. I'm going to retire. Other than that, the Steelers are welcome to have him.
Yeah, you know, one thing I did wonder about real quick before we turn over to the break here, I don't know what that offer is. If it's 1 year, $30 million, I wonder if Russell getting 21, the offer's there. Would they amend the offer and say, okay, we've seen the market now, it's not as big as we once, you know, since he hasn't signed it or agreed to it, can they do that, or would they do that?
I mean, they might. I just don't know what the offer is. I don't know if the offer's 20, then they probably wouldn't touch the offer. The offer probably stands. Also, Bob, I mean, don't we know that the offer, the money, isn't the sticking point here? It's about fit. Whatever the offer is, whether it's 40 million, 15 million, 30 million, apparently they've agreed on that. It's just a matter of Aaron Rodgers feeling comfortable and the two sides, you know, getting to know one another.
Yeah. Well, obviously, they spent 6 hours together. I was surprised he didn't have a deal when he walked out. We'll see. Due for a break. We'll take it right now. Come back with more. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call as we take a nightly look at Acrisure Stadium. Looks beautiful this time of night. All right, Ken Rice is standing by with a preview of what's on the agenda tonight. KDKA News at 11. Ken?
Hey, Bob, tonight Mon Valley voters choosing a new representative in Harrisburg, plus how the family of the man killed at the Butler Trump rally last summer is honoring his life. And Ray Petlin is tracking the chance for a few snowflakes, all coming up right here at 11, Bob.
All right, Ken, thank you. Chuck in Uniontown, final caller of the night. Hello, Chuck.
Yeah, quickly, I'd sooner see Sawinski or Day in the outfield over Tony Sam, and are you okay with Majinski over Harrington in the starting rotation?
I like Majinski. I like his arm, but you know he's been mostly, Jason, a reliever. I would have preferred to see Harrington, but they're not going to do that.
Yeah, I think you're going to see Harrington in short order. I don't think he's going to be down in the minors for long. I think Carmen has deserved this. He's done some things that are unnatural to him by filling in the bullpen. I think you'll see some Ji-Hwan Bae. They're going to play Tommy Pham because he's under contract.
All right, Jason, always a pleasure. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate that. And we'll do it again with you coming up tomorrow night, right here, same time, same channel. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Good night.